Gosh, do you want the long story or do you want me to keep it short?
Whatever you want. I'm here all day, so whatever you want.
Okay. So when I was in like middle school and high school, my mother just out of the blue was like, I'm going to become a CrossFit coach. And so my mom's a nurse. And so I think she might have been working part-time as a nurse. I can't remember. But anyway, she just like started coaching CrossFit out of the blue. My mom is so bad to the bone. Like she's so awesome.
You press me equals good. See, let's be all that we could be. Let's be all that we could.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carter, and this is another episode of the Carter Hall podcast. With me today, I got an absolute legend of the CrossFit space, Hannah Martinez. Thanks for coming on, dude. I know you got a busy day, so thank you for hopping on. Of
Yeah, of course. Happy to.
course. So you and I kind of know each other a little bit from CrossFit Amarillo, and it's always kind of cool to watch you because like whenever I first got to know who you were a little bit, you were training for a pretty big competition, and I'm like, this girl is a beast. Like you just, I think you were doing the was it the fittest experience? Whenever I remember you
Yes.
like talking about it, training for it. I'm like, geez, this girl's an absolute beast.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I trained for the fittest, and I was like mid training when I moved to Amarillo. So you probably caught like me in the heat of it. But yes, that's what I was training for. It's lots of fun.
So what's cool about you is like you are actually like you're training for like these big events, right? You're off air. We were kind of just talking briefly. You were like you do these big competitions, like you do like we have one in October every year in Amarillo, the 806 Classic and stuff like that. But you are also in vet school to become a veterinarian. That's pretty
Yes.
cool too to hear all that because you have such a unique story. I'm like Hannah has to come on the podcast if down for it because such a unique story. I'm like she's smart and she's got like superhero strength too. It's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I do think I'm the only one in my like class that is actively competing in something. Like there's a few other girls that are in CrossFit, but none of them are like going out and still competing. And then same with like sports. I do think that I'm the only person in my class that is going to school, but also like hardcore competing on the side. So
How do you balance that? Like just hearing it, like you said, you're the only one that's really like in the trenches, so to speak. How are you balancing that lifestyle?
Um, so when I first moved to Amarillo for vet school, like I said, I was like mid-training. So I was training really hardcore over the summer,
Mhm.
before I moved. And so I told my coach back home, I said, hey, like my priorities are gonna shift when I start school because this is my future. This is like this is top priority, like underneath the Lord, obviously. But so I told him that, and I also told my team that I was competing on a team, wasn't individual, but I told them that, and so I stepped into vet school with the mindset of like, hey, vet school's number one, and CrossFit's gonna take like the second step, um, and so that allowed me to not stress and to kind of tell myself like, hey, it's okay to miss a day. But at the same time, like you have to be accountable because I had my coach from back home who was programming me, and then I had my girls on my team, and I like couldn't let them down. So I just prioritized my things a little bit. But it actually ended up being a lot easier than I thought. I am not on school or like not on campus longer than like the longest I've ever been is from like 8 to 4. Most of the time I'm finished by 2 p.m., 3 p.m. So
Wow.
it's it's a lot shorter than a 9 to 5. And so whenever I would get out of class early, the first thing I would do is go to the gym. And then CrossFit Emerald is really great because they have the 24/7 access. And so if I couldn't get out of like vet school class in time to where I could avoid the CrossFit classes, I could just go at like 8 p.m. at night and then knock out my hour and a half worth of programming. But I had a lot of time. So like if I got out at 2 p.m. from school, then I could study all the way up until I went to the gym at like 7:30. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm a full-time student and yes, I study, but like we have a lot of time. And I don't know, I can't like when I go and I work out, I feel like it refreshes my brain and then I can stay consistent in my studying. Like if I just study and hammer it out, I'll get burnt out. So having something else that I could go to outside of school, I felt kept me fresh.
That's really awesome because what an interesting story because like you said, like you one thing that you said was accountability, right? accountability as
Yes.
far as like school and accountability within CrossFit. Like you're allowed to, like you said, go to work, do your school studies, and also go work out, right? With a 24/7 membership. God, it's like so. Obviously, whenever I was in college, right, CrossFit helped me in a sense of like making sure that I can whatever stressful. Obviously, I'm not competing by any means right now, but CrossFit, like just going to a class, like for my point of view, helped me like alleviate stress from like an assignment, projects, whatever. For you,
Yes.
you're more the volume is much more higher because, like you said, you where you come from, you have a coach like programming for you and all this different stuff, right? But for you, like, where was your first exposure to CrossFit, and how has it changed from then to where it's at now?
Oh my gosh. Do you want the long story or do you want me to keep it short?
Whatever you want. I'm here all day, so whatever you want.
Okay. So when I was in like middle school and high school, my mother just out of the blue was like, I'm going to become a CrossFit coach. And so my mom's a nurse. And so I think she might have been working part-time as a nurse. I can't remember. But anyway, she just like started coaching CrossFit out of the blue. My mom is so bad to the bone. Like she's so awesome. So I was exposed to CrossFit originally from that. She would drag me to classes. I would go on the weekends. The gym that she coached at back home, they would do like the Saturday community WODs. And so she would always drag me and my family to those. So I got like a little bit of exposure there. And she also started doing Olympic weightlifting and then competing at meets. And so I would go watch her at meets. And then she like got into bodybuilding and then nutrition. So like I always had her as a background. Um, and then come like college-ish time for me, I had gotten out of high school rodeo. I was no longer doing like those sports. Like I showed lambs and all that stuff when I was in high school. So when I was out of that and I was in college, I started going back to the gym and I started running. And then I one day decided to run a marathon, ran a marathon, and then during my marathon training, I met this girl. Her name is Caitlin. She was on my TFX team. But I met her in marathon training and she was one of my running buddies. And she was like, Hey, I see that you hate running. Why don't you come join CrossFit after your marathon? She was like, I'm in CrossFit. And I was like, Ooh, so I could because I'm familiar with CrossFit. And then my boyfriend is also like really into CrossFit, really into competing. And so then he was like, Hey, I have a friend who goes to CrossFit SDA. And that's where my friend Caitlin went. She was like, We're at CrossFit SDA. And so I just kind of like had to go. And then when I got in, it was like, oh my gosh, it was insane. It was like I was so mad that I didn't join CrossFit sooner. Just the community and the people who poured into me and then showed me like, hey, you actually can be something and can make something out of yourself in the CrossFit aspect. And that was really cool. And they told me they were like, hey, like you can compete if you want to, like you can do this. And I was like, yes, I want to. And so that's kind of how I got into it.
Wow. So okay, so you had like a lot at once there. I mean, in a good way, like the way you described it, because like, so you were running. So let me back up a second. So you were running in wrestling, right? You were training to do a marathon.
Yes.
So just I don't like you. So you had a friend reach out to like, I see you're running. Then you come try CrossFit. That's pretty much how it started.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. Like, so the community aspect of it was like crazy because like you had a friend just reach out to you, right?
Yes. So she told me to schedule an appointment. So I did like the one-on-one intro meeting, and I remember walking up to the gym doors at CrossFit SDA, and they were already open, and I walked in, and like three of the coaches came and swarmed me, and they asked me who my name was or what my name was, and I told them, and then from the office comes my coach, like the one that I like did one-on-ones with, and he was like, "Don't touch her, that one's mine." And then like just the energy was so great, and it was perfect. And so
That's
just from the
awesome.
very beginning, meeting these people, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool to find your tribe, right? And really
Exactly.
like that's always one thing I always like try to talk about is like the community, like how awesome it could be. Like you said, like three or four people came up to you and like, "What's your name? What's your name?" And like you hear your coach walking, like that one's mine. Like that's really cool. The fact that like they were willing to welcome you in like that. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
So like for you, like when you're training and anything like that, like how big is community to you? Like is that did that factor into anything you're doing as far as your training wise at all? And if
Oh
so,
my
like
gosh,
how?
yes. So when I was still before vet school, when I was still back home, I would train with my like girls, with Kaylin and Leah, who were on my TFX team. And then my coaches, like my main coach, his name is Nathan, and then the other coaches. So I would train like in a group and I would go during open gym when all of them were around. And that was really easy and really fun. And then when I was moving out to Amarillo, I reached out to Nathan and I was like, hey, like I want to do remote programming so that I can be the best that I can be for these girls when I leave. And so doing remote programming, he had workouts for me. And so when I got to CrossFit Amarillo, I wasn't able to do the class workouts. And so, like I said earlier, I was working out at like 7:45 because the last CrossFit class at Amarillo ends at 7:40. And so I would show up as they were leaving and I was like, let me take over the gym. And then I would have to work out alone because I needed to do the programming that was given to me. And the only time that I could do that and access all the equipment and not be in people's way was after hours. And so I went from training back home to like in class workouts and all that with my friends to just straight by myself. And the only thing I had was I would upload videos and stuff to like the remote programming app to my coach. And then I would text him, be like, how does this look? How does this look? And so he would give me just like text or call encouragement, which was really great. And that was something that I really had to hold on to. And then I was also in a group chat with those girls, and we would also send like, look what I did today. Here's my PR. Like I hit a 200-pound back squat today. And then like we would talk
Awesome.
like that way. But it was so hard and so grueling. And I remember the last month before TFX, I was like, I cannot wait to be done with remote programming and to be able to get back into like actual classes. And I'm in actual classes now, and I'm
Yeah.
slowly making more like real friends at CrossFit Amarillo, and it's so great.
That's so cool to hear because, like, I remember early on for me, right, whenever I first started CrossFit, my very first CrossFit was in 2016, but I didn't start CrossFit full time really until 2019. There was a couple of years where I just
Mm,
pop in class here and there, but for me, I need an environment around me, right? So I need people like because I come from like a football wrestling background, so people are constantly cheering, yelling at you, blah 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 blah, right? So I'm like my first few like workouts, CrossFit workouts were how can I put this lightly? They were miserable for lack of better terms because I I need people yelling at me and I was like, oh man, I suck at everything. What's going on here? So just I
oh
remember
my
them
gosh.
how much they struggle. I still struggle now. Don't get me wrong, but man, it was a struggle bus when I first necessarily started. Yeah, it was crazy. What a long time.
Yeah.
What a journey it's been on though. Do you ever feel like that too? Like oh man, like when where you started to where you're at now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I first started, like we just finished the open, and so I can see my ranking from last year and then ranking from this year. Um, And so that's like a one, like a visual thing you can see. But just like, I think my mental aspect and everything, like when I first started CrossFit, there were all these things that I was being told that I could do. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to do those things. Like I can't do a pull up. I can't do all these things. And then we qualified for TFX. And I was like, guys, like we weren't even supposed to qualify. And then we did. And then we got to TFX and let's see, we qualified at the second to last position. So they took 30 teams and we qualified 29th and we made finals at
Yeah.
TFX. That was insane. I remember like the scores got uploaded to TFX and we were sitting there and I was like, guys, we just made finals. Like we shouldn't have even qualified and now we are in like the top 10 and this is crazy. And then like we even through like the finals workout, we didn't finish last. Like we finished middle of the pack in finals. So
Oh,
just from where I started from to now, just mentally, I can I can do things that I didn't think I could. And so when I set goals for myself now, even if they're really hard goals, I know like I could do that. Like I could totally do that.
I can do that.
So
Yeah. That's so cool to hear. The fact that like you said, like y'all qualified in 29th and they took the top 30. That's really cool to hear that. That's really cool. Like, it's really kind of motivating, really. The fact that like y'all went from 29th to being like placing like halfway through. That's really cool. So
yeah,
like
it
for
was
y'all,
great.
so go ahead. I'm sorry. I feel like I cut you off.
No, you're fine. I think we were in fifth place up until like, so we qualified fifth place and finals was top 10. And then I forgot where we finished after finals, but like we were close to podiuming. Like, oh, it was crazy. But anyway.
So where was it at this year? Where was the fitness experience at this year?
Online it says it's in Austin, Texas, but it's in Taylor, Texas, which is like 30 minutes outside of Austin. But that's like 40 minutes from like my parents. And
Oh wow.
so my family's there, my mom's old CrossFit gym is there. And so I just like went home and stayed with my family while I
That's
did that, which was great.
awesome. That makes it really convenient, I bet.
Hmm.
So do you remember your first like so like you said, the fitness experience that you like you said you're programming, like you doing all this stuff, right? Your coaches were programming for you and coaching you and like you were they're texting you and calling you to motivate, like helping you out, right? Do you remember your first like CrossFit workout? And what that was like? Because if
I
for
mean,
go ahead.
like I remember the ones back when I did with my mom when I was in like middle school and high school, but in terms of like first CrossFit workout recently. When I joined the gym from back home, they were doing like I was doing the one-on-one lessons, and so it wasn't a class. But I do remember being really excited when he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna let you loose now, and you can go do class." He's like, "I'm not gonna be here to coach you, but I'll be in the back." And so I remember that and it being really fun, and then being able to put like my score on the leaderboard app that they
Oh
had.
yeah.
But yeah.
That's something I do, like just putting my stuff. I'm not perfect about it every day, but when I put my scores in our app for for CrossFit ML, our Talk app, I'm like,
Hmm.
heck yeah. And I look at, I'm like, I plug it in, I feel good. I look at everybody else's scores. I'm like, oh man, I'm just gonna
No,
look
you
away.
can't do that though,
No,
because I do the
no,
same thing.
it's an awful feeling because it's like it's a really not an awful, it's a humbling feeling to put it at
It
least,
is.
Because I'm like, oh man, there's people. Because I'm 28, right? So there's people in their 30s and 40s that are doing way better than me. I'm like, okay, I at least I worked out today. Got to remember the work goal is to work
True.
out today, which I
That is
did. So I'm
true.
like, I can't look at the app for too long. And speaking of the open, speaking of like leaderboards and the open, I guess, you competed in the open. Like, what was the experience like for you this year?
It was different. I was able to go to two out of the three Friday Night Lights at CrossFit Amarillo. I think the only thing that was different and stressful was the fact that I had to find my own judge. And like I said, I just recently started going to like real classes. I've instead of me working out at 9 p.m., so I don't know a lot of people. I know like you and maybe three other people. And so finding a judge, I was so stressed out. I was like, ah. Um, but obviously Nick was like, "Oh, you know so and so." And like people just get thrown at you and it's so great. And then I
Yeah.
make friends that way. But it was pretty similar to last year. I mean, I was so new last year. I remember being like not made fun of, but like teased because last year's open workout was there was the one where you had to do the deadlifts, the cleans, and the snatches, and they were like, "Hannah, your
Yeah.
back was so rounded, you look like trash." And they were like, "I don't know how you like aren't injured." And so I got made fun of last open for like rounding out all of my stuff. And
Jeez.
this year that wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I finding it does is like to me the most stressful part of the actual workout. I mean, I get stressed out for the workout, but the actual more stressful part is like I've been there for a year and I'm like, I don't know anybody here. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh wait, I know this person, I know that person. I'm like, harder.
Exactly. Like we know more people.
I overthink it way too much, and I overcomplicate more than I have to. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I know Hannah, for example. Hannah, can you blah 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 blah? I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, that's stuff like that. Like I overthink it. I'm like, I need a judge. I need a judge. Oh yeah,
Me
three, two,
too.
one, go. I'm like, I don't have a judge. Like it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this was there like for me. I felt like the 26.3 was the most like that was the more crazier one. The one with the burpees and all that. And I was like, oh no, I'm getting time capped, but I don't care. Like, was there one
I
like that that was like was there a workout that was like more nervous, more nerve wracking for you, and one that was like more because all of them I felt like there were like no rhyme or reason why we did the stuff that we did, but I felt like for me that's my point of view. You know, but was there one that was more stressful? I guess what I'm trying to say, and one that was like more suited for you.
Yes. So I really like burpees. I can burpee for a long time. Um, I'm not like super good at them. So the last one I was excited about, that was probably my favorite one. The second one was the one where like it got released and I was like, "Ugh, my position on the world leaderboard is about to just tank because I cannot do chest to bar pull-ups efficiently. Like I can do them, but they're singles. And the fact that I had to go, I was doing really strong up until
Mhm.
then. Like I did, the lunges were good, and then I did all my pull-ups in sets of 5, and it was great. And when I got to the chest bar, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't fall off. Like I finished them, but they were singles. And I would go up and do one and then drop down and like back up and like then like wait a little bit and waste like 30 seconds between each one. So I just drained my time on the
Yeah.
second one. But I just me and the rig don't get along. I'm not a rig girly.
Yeah, I'm not a rig person either. Like I can't do pull-ups, but I don't know if you can see my hands, but they're so calloused out still from
Oh my
2016.
gosh, yeah.
So I'm still peeling to this day. Like it's horrible. I don't recommend it. Like I can't do pull-ups, but when I saw the workout for the scaled versions of it and it said like jumping pull-ups, I'm like, I haven't done a jumping pull-up since 2019 when I first started CrossFit, when I was introducing those variants of the stimulus. I'm like, I haven't done those in years. That's probably on me, but that's not on CrossFit. But at the end of the day, I'm like, when I first started doing my first 2 or 3 reps, I looked at my judge. I'm like, I gave him a look. I'm like, this is not it, man. He goes, you got it, you got it. I'm like, I don't think I do, man. I'm about to like peel here in a second. Like, I'm not
Oh
built for this.
yeah.
And so like, I went back to it in the third round. I'm like, here we go again. It was all
Yeah.
downhill. That one workout I like to forget. There's a lot of workouts I like to forget, and that's one of them.
That's the one that I didn't do at Friday Night Lights. I had to come back like Sunday at 8 p.m. and just set up the phone and record myself doing that. And it was so gross. I hated it.
Yeah, I'm not really. I don't think I've ever like whenever I film myself, it's more like can I hit a PR here? But when I go back and
Mm,
look at it, I'm like, ugh, it's so ugly. Everything about that is so my form, it looks awful. And I can like people have to look at this every day. I don't, but like I'm like, ugh. That's just how I feel about myself, my techniques. I'm like, how do I not how's my spine not popping out of my back every time I do an awful looking deadlift or something, you know?
yeah.
But for you, like you said, you're really good at doing burpees. That's your jam. But another thing that's really like obviously your jam is going to be a vet school, right? So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so you're obviously in vet school, killing it. Just the workload of I guess being a vet in vet school. Like, what is that like? Because obviously, when I think of a vet, I'm like, obviously you're dealing with animals, but like you're going to be a vet. You have to be super duper smart because you're dealing not just with one animal, you're dealing with all the animals. It seems like what is
Hmm.
that like? What is that like? Because I'm always fascinated like that. But what does that entail for you?
So it's hard. I'm large animal focused, so I want to do horses, cows, livestock. That's my jam. But they have to teach us the curriculum of everybody because they want everybody to be competent in every skill, which is super great. So like my first semester anatomy lab was on dogs. And a lot of that stuff can be transferred over. So like this semester now we have horses and goats. So like it's just let's see, I'm trying to explain this the right way. A lot of it is the same, but it's different. And so I still have to remember every aspect of the dog and then the horse because I have to be tested on that. So that's hard. Is like I know in the future I'm not going to work on dogs, but I can't just neglect that entire half of vet school. And so it sucks because like we get to the horses and I'm really excited about it and like my grades are really good on the large animal stuff and then we
Mhm.
learn about like parasitology and like dogs and fleas and stuff and that stuff doesn't entertain me and it's gross. And so my grades don't suffer, like I suck it up and I do it, but it definitely sucks to study for the things that I either A, don't enjoy, or B, know that I'm not going to use heavily in the future. So that is difficult to maintain. Um, but yeah, so that's the difference there. As for workload, like I said, I think I'm on campus less than a typical like person would be at their 9 to 5 job. So I have a lot of free time. But I also pack that free time with a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, I have horses at home. So if I'm not at CrossFit training, I'm messing with those horses in my free time. But the fact that I have free time is like a blessing. So it's not horrible. Like I'm not swamped.
So you're able to like really like when you're not training, you're really to ease back. You're still around those animals that you're willing to
Hmm.
work with, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
That's really cool. So like so that's just a responsibility factor, right? Of like wanting to learn, like, oh yeah, like I want to work with horses, but hey, they're still like dogs, whatever, blah blah blah. So like the whole responsibility factor. I always found that like for me, I don't know, just because I'm a nerd, I don't know, but so because like with a doctor, like let's say I have a cold, I go to the doctor, right, and I'm like, doctor's like, yeah, you got this, you treat the symptoms, right? But with a vet, I'm like, I always find it fascinating in this sense because I'm like, with a vet, you can't just like treat an animal or one horse, like a horse, for example, the same way you would probably treat it. I don't know. You can tell me if I'm different. I'm not the vet here, but like you can't treat a horse the same way a dog because like you probably have to approach it differently for different reasons, right? Because you have to learn everything about everything. It's just that's what's kind of interesting to me, I guess.
Yeah. And that's where specialties come in. So you have your general practice doctor. So like I think the broadest you could go is being a mixed general practitioner. So mixed meaning you see small animal and large animal. You see anything from cats, chickens, all the way up to horses and cows. So it's like that's what mixed means. And then general practitioner means that you're doing the basic things like vaccines, wellness exams, like diarrhea, vomiting, like all of those little, like the small things. And then you have your specialties where you can get referred off. So this is the same in human medicine. So if I need a knee surgery, I'm not going to go to the dermatologist. So we have all of those specialties in vet med. So I would like to specialize in large animal internal medicine. So those are things like kidney failure and liver issues and like cardiology. So you can like everything that's like inside. And then there's also surgeons. So like horses have a lot of like joint issues and they go and they get little bone things removed. So those you go specifically to like a horse referral center that they have extensive like after vet school training. So that's similar in human medicine. We do have specialties, but you can still do like everything. And that's like your like primary care doctor. Like you can go to your primary care doctor as a person and be like, hey, I have a cold or flu. And there you could be like, hey, like I have back problems. And then most of the time, if you tell them that, then they're like, okay, well, we need to refer you out to a specialist. And then you
Yeah.
go to like a bone doctor or I forgot what they're called. And you go get an
Yeah.
MRI and stuff like that. So it's pretty similar.
Or so you have like your own like there's like your own specialty per like your area that you want to go into.
Yeah, absolutely.
The challenges that you speak, like I said, in vet school, is there anything that come along with that as far as like you want to learn medicine, but you have to learn a set of other things beforehand? Is there any other challenge that you have to learn, I guess, in vet school?
Absolutely. So a lot of them, or I say a lot, a couple of my friends they want to specialize in surgery. So they need to do really good in anatomy because knowing the bones, knowing the joints, knowing all those structures is so important when you go and you cut into an animal. So for me, I don't necessarily have to be like super good at anatomy, but I have to be good at physiology. So that's my main course. And physiology is hard. And it's a lot more like, so anatomy is almost like blind memorization. Like as long as you can remember, like you can list out the muscles, point where they are, all the blood vessels and all those things, like you're golden. But for physiology, it's not as much memorization as it is understanding. You have to be able to understand each concept because they're different layers. So if I don't understand layer 1 of kidney failure and like why that starts, I'm sure as heck not gonna understand level 2. And if I don't understand level 1 and 2, I'm not gonna be able to treat it at level 3. And so it is hard knowing that I want to do internal medicine, which means I have to understand this stuff right now and like I cannot slack. And I think phys is one of the hardest courses. So I would say that that's a challenge for sure. It's just knowing what I've signed myself up for. But at the same time, like I really enjoy it. So I don't mind coming and studying phys for hours on end and like filling up a whiteboard full of information. I really enjoy it because once those things click and I finally understand level one and then it bleeds into level two, then it's so cool. And I just want to tell everybody, like, do you know what kidney failure is? Like, do you know? And that's just like how my brain works. But it is hard. So
Yeah. I like that term you use. Was it blind memorization? Because I'm like,
mhm.
that's something that, like I said, whenever I was in school, right? I was never the science person, but I would like, you said, like, you would take up a whole whiteboard trying to like write something down. I was the same way too. Like, I knew where my strengths were in school, like as far as like history, English. I can write an essay in a day and be good, or write something about history and be cool. But when it came to, like, math or science, those were the ones I'm like, okay, like if I don't know like this, blah 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 blah. For me, it's going to be a struggle bus for me. But for you, like, okay, a plant cell, easy peasy, Carter, go through this, you know. But for me, like, okay, I gotta do X, Y, Z so far. And like, I was like writing out the whole thing too. That's what I felt too, like blind memorization. Like for me, that's how I process it in my head, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But so that when you learn that, when you're learning like, okay, gotta learn how to mess and you gotta do joints, kidney failure, I'm like, sounds cool. I don't know anything about kidney failure, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. And the questions that they ask us on the test, it's they're like second order questions. So they ask you a very broad thing. And so I could potentially have memorized like a concept from level one. Like it's in my brain. But if I don't actually understand that and I'm not able to apply that to the level two question that's being asked, I'm not gonna get it right. And
Yeah,
so, and they have to do that though, because in real life, when I'm looking at a patient, it is a giant jumble puzzle. And then you have to go run blood work. And then you get one puzzle piece. And then you can do an x-ray. And then you do another one. And then you have to take a past history. Like what is the owner telling me happened to this animal? What are you feeding this animal? And then you look at all these things and you lay them out and you have to connect them. And if you don't, like I could like blindly memorize some blood work, but if I don't understand what that means, I'm never going to come to a conclusion on this patient.
sure.
So,
That makes sense too. Like, I guess really get to learn like all, like you said, learning everything. Like, I guess in conclusion, like for the owner, like, how you trade it, how do you trade your owner, blah 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 blah. Like, how do you training your dog, you know, or whatever animal that they bring into the vet, right? So that makes sense. But for example, to me, just hearing this, would make me stressful. Obviously, that's why I'm not in vet school, right? But whenever you get stressed out, maybe like for a test or maybe the workload that we talked about earlier, does training help you at all ease that stress at the end of the day?
absolutely. That is the first place I go. Like if I'm stressed out, I'm going to the gym. And I say it just like that. Like I'll tell my roommate, I'm going to the gym. I'm gonna lift and I'll lift heavy. Or I'll like wear myself out. Or I'll go and I'll study for like 2 hours. And then once my brain gets a little icky, I'm like, I'm going to the gym. And then I go and I lift it out. But it's a whole new headspace. It's because like if I'm stressed in school, it is so easy to separate school and CrossFit. And
Yeah,
that is
sure.
like huge reason like why I love CrossFit so much is because I feel like I could go to a normal gym and still think about school, but I cannot go to CrossFit and think about school. There are so many levels to CrossFit. Like
Yeah,
you could go like on a squat rack and try to hit some numbers at like a commercial gym, but like if I'm trying to snatch, like there's so many things that go into that. And so I don't have headspace to think about school while I'm snatching. So,
for sure. I'm the same exact way too. Like whenever I get stressed with work or whatever, I'm like, I can't wait to go to the gym. And then there's
yes.
overhead snatch. I'm like, heck yeah. The overhead squat snatching is not my favorite thing, but guess what? I'm gonna feel a lot better because of it, you know, because I'm doing it, you know. So I get that very much. Like I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm very much like I rather go. Not that I don't want to go to a normal, like say, commercialized gym, but I'm very much feel much more comfortable in a CrossFit gym as opposed to like Emerald Town Club, for example, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Oh
But
yeah, I'm the same.
yeah, most definitely. Are you so? That's a couple quick, I guess, questions before you head on out here, because I know you got a million and one other things to worry about, like learning how to save animals, and as opposed to talk to me about talking to save animals. But so I guess, are you? What's your favorite thing, I guess, about CrossFit before you head out?
The community being able to show me parts of myself that I would not have found alone. That is the number one thing about CrossFit that I love, is like they bring out, no matter who it is, whether it's coaches back home, coaches at CrossFit Amarillo, friends at CrossFit Amarillo, they bring out a part of me that I would have never been able to have brought out by myself.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Do you have a favorite CrossFit movement or least favorite CrossFit movement?
Snatch. I could snatch all day long. Squat snatch.
For
That
sure.
is my favorite. If I ever don't have anything specific to train, I'll go at 7 p.m. and I'll try to PR my snatch just because I want to.
Yeah.
Least favorite, I hate the rig. I hate
Yeah.
it. I just, it's only because I'm not good. I think that once I got good at it, that I wouldn't hate it as much, but I'm not good at pull-ups or any of the things on the rig. So
Yeah. I have a older brother and he's much more the gymnast. He's much more the gymnastics person than I am, obviously. I rather grab a barbell and lift. I'm not gonna go out there and do ring muscle ups or ring whatever or
yeah,
muscle or anything like that. I know where my limits are. I want to go with snatch or I want to go bench press. I want to go do something else, look cool as opposed to actually being cool.
exactly. Do what I'm good at so that I look cool.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So you mentioned earlier, like you said, go to 7 p.m. and stats, right? Are you more of a evening person or evening workout person or morning workout person?
I've thought about it. In real life, I think I'm more of a morning person. Like before exams, I will wake up at 4:30 in the morning, come here to a study room and grind it out for 2 hours before my exam. I don't really have an issue waking up that early. But when it comes to working out, I think I would hate waking up at 4:30 and working out. So probably a night person. I think it also helps that like once I've had 3 meals throughout the day, I feel a lot better in the evening. Like if I was to wake up at 4:30 and eat breakfast and then go work out, I would only be utilizing those like nutrients and calories from breakfast. Whereas in the evening, I got the whole day's worth of food that I
Yeah,
ate. So
exactly. I work at a high school, so during the school year, I have to be an evening person. So like right after
mhm.
school, I'm going to the gym, right? But during the summer, I'm like back in the day, I would be like, oh man, I want to go work out in the morning. So the 9 a.m. class, here I come. But the older I get, I'm more like I can go to noon. I don't mind waking up.
Yeah.
I want my coffee. I'm not gonna function without it. So I'm becoming more of a noon person, if that makes sense a little bit. So because back in
Hmm.
the day, I used to be like, "Oh, I want to be the first one there at 9 in the morning. There's no way you're getting me up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go work out, regardless what year part of the year. So for me, I'm like, okay, back in the day, it was like, okay, 9 o'clock. I don't mind going 9 today, but it's like it's more going to the noon side. I'm like, I gotta
Hmm.
this old man needs to just rest a little bit more. So I'm getting up there in age, Hannah. I don't know if you know that. 28. I'm pretty old.
I feel like I'm not that far behind you. I'm almost 25. So I mean, yes and no, but we're still in that little
Yeah.
area.
So yeah, this body's been through a lot of football and wrestling matches. So I'm
I
getting up there
bet.
in age. So so I guess gonna close out this whole podcast. Do you have any advice if someone was out there listening to this who may be in high school or whatever the age and they're considering veterinarian school, what advice would you give to them right now?
Um, Two things. Actually, three things. Three things. The Lord has a plan. It might not look like your plan, but He has a plan, and His plan is always the best plan. Second, don't give up. It took me to 3 times to get into vet school. And I'm super glad that I got in on the third time. Like, I think my life would have been so different if it had happened the way I wanted it to. And then the third thing is you can do things that you don't think you can. Like, there was no way in heck I thought I could do full-time vet school, own 2 horses, and like manage to compete at a high level in CrossFit. And I'm doing it. And my GPA is just fine. Like, I'm cruising. So those are my 3 things.
Yeah, I love that. It's just pretty cool, like to manage everything and like be active and still be, the best version of yourself in school. Like so that's pretty cool to hear that. So thank you for sharing that. And also, I guess lastly, if there's someone in school right now and they want to be active, what would you tell them?
Join CrossFit. Be active. Come hang out with me. Anything. You just got to make that first step. Like, it's going to suck. It always sucks. Like, waking up sucks and getting up early sucks, and like cooking dinner sucks, and like doing all these things are so icky. But then once you're in the moment, it's great. So like, go to the gym. Just go. Just try it out. Go to CrossFit. If you're a little hesitant, you're like, well, I don't want to do it alone. I don't know what to do. Go to CrossFit. They program for you.
Heck yeah.
But just do it. Like, it's like there's a little hump in the beginning, but like once you're over that hump, cruising.
You're going.
So
That's what I say
it.
all the time. I preach that as much as I can. Like, they can scale for you. Like, they can program for it's anybody can do CrossFit. Anybody can do CrossFit. Like, you could be the 80-year-old person who's never done one workout and they got you, or you could be the 10-year-old kid. There's no, or anywhere in between. They got it for you. CrossFit is the answer for you. So I preach that as much as I can. So thank you for sharing that. That's someone who shared the same sentiment, at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. But Hannah, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It was so fun talking to you. Like I said, you've got animals to save, and animals to help. So thank you for coming on and making the time out for this. And thank you to everybody listening to this. Today was pretty fun talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me. I totally enjoyed sharing any little bits of advice that I could. So,
well, thank you again, Hannah.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.
And get off of this lonely road. Can you hear me? Tell me, can you hear me? I've been calling out for help, still don't see nobody near me. I'm down and almost underground and so deep in the valley, I can't even tell you which way is the mountain.